إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فخرج على قومه في زينته قال الذين يريدون الحياة الدنيا يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قارون إنه لذو حظ عظيم صدق الله العظيم. My dear brothers, as I recited the few verses of Surah Al-Qasas, and in these verses Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us about the story of Qarun. Qarun was from the nation of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, from Bani Israel, and he was the cousin of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. The Mufassirin said that he was very beautiful and handsome, and he was very well mannered. And also Qarun was a great Qari of Tawrat. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a lot of wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a lot of treasures, and the keys of his treasures would burden on the group of strong men. So he became arrogant and he became from the hypocrites. So some people from Bani Israel, they were Muslims, they gave him the advice that do not exult on your wealth. لا تفرح إن الله لا يحب الفرحين. Do not exult on your wealth, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love the exultants. And also you have to seek through what Allah has given to you, and what Allah has given to you, and you do not forget apart from this world. وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. And do good with people as Allah has done with you. وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And do not cause any corruption on the face of the earth. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love the corruptors. That was the advice of the Muslim people from Bani Israel. So the Qarun was replied that قَالَ إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. This wealth, these treasures, it was only given to me because of my knowledge which I have. And in our society, we have also this misconception that we have wealth, so we think that this is our own perfection. The same case happened with Qarun. He was also thinking that Allah has given the wealth to me, that is because of my own perfection. That was his big misunderstanding. And one day, when Qarun came out in his nation, so the worldly people, they said, قال الذين يريدون الحياة الدنيا يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قارون. The worldly people said that we should also have the wealth like Qarun. إنه لذو حظ عظيم. And this Qarun, he is very fortunate person. My dear brothers, today we have wealth, status, position. We should not impress from the wealthy people. If we look the wealthy person, we should not impress for them, because that is not the criteria of success. The criteria of success is only Iman. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Indeed, those people are the successful people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ. Those who will protect from the hellfire and those who will enter in the paradise, these people are the successful people. So today in our society, if Allah gives someone wealth, that is not the criteria of success. That is not the criteria of success. That's why some knowledgeable people, they told to the worldly people, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ وَيْلَكُمْ. They told to the worldly people that woe to you. ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لِمَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. The reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more better for those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for those who do the righteous deeds. And وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ. It is not granted to everyone. It is only granted to the patient people. And then when Qarun came out in his nation, so the worldly people said that we had also the wealth like Qarun. But the knowledgeable people, they said that woe to you. And we should not impress from the wealthy people. Then what was the result of Qarun? فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused the earth to swallow him and his house and his whole treasures. فَمَا كَانَ لَهُ مِنْ فِيَةٍ يَنْصُرُونَهُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. So there was no company to help Qarun. وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُنْتَصِرِينَ. And they could not defend themselves. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next ayat Allah mentioned وَأَصْبَحَ الَّذِينَ تَمَنَّوْا مَكَانَهُ بِالْأَمْسِ. Those people, those worldly people who were wished that we had also the wealth like Qarun, today when they see the result of Qarun, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swallow him in the earth. So what they people said, they said وَيْكَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ. That how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extend the provision of those He want, and also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restricted the provision of those who will. وَيْكَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَوْلَا أَمَّنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا لَخَسَفَ بِنَا. Now these worldly people, they said, if there was not favor on us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we would also swallow like Qarun in the earth. وَيْكَأَنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الْكَافِرُونَ. And indeed there is no succeed for disbelievers. My dear brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions such kind of stories in the Holy Quran. So what is the main purpose behind this? There is a big lesson for us. Today we have a status, today we have a position, today we have wealth, so we should not be ungrateful. We should grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this world, that is temporary, that is not permanent. And the permanent home of us, that is the hereafter. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. Those people who have a little bit of arrogance in their hearts, they will not enter in the paradise. That's why we should grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every moment, because that is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you become grateful, Allah will extend more and more. وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. And if you become from the ungrateful people, then the azab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very severe. May Allah give us tawfiq to follow Allah and His Messenger. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين.